Welcome everybody to the August 9th meeting of the Budget, Finance, and Investment Committee. Hope everybody's had a good summer so far, and we're back once again. Everybody should have received the minutes from the June 21st meeting, which I know we all remember vividly. So if anybody's willing to make a motion, we'll approve those minutes.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Mr. Beatty, investment report. Well,
Thank you. Before I start, I know several of you will not be back in September with us, and it's been a pleasure to work with you and look forward to working with you in different things. But thank you for what you've done and always supporting me, and we'll miss you. But good luck with the other things that you do. We've got June and July.
I won't take it personally. You looked at them the whole time.
Since you didn't move me to the bottom, I guess I should have, because you won't be back with us either. We're certainly going to miss you. Miss you.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
I'm not kidding. We will miss you, gentlemen. Thank you. And I'm going to take a minute. I'm sorry. I tell groups, visiting, being involved in county-wide or statewide organizations, it's amazing how many commissions don't adopt a tax rate or budget till September or October every year. And, I'm very proud that when July starts, our county knows its budget. We're able to close books. A lot of them will wait till after the election, so they get in that habit every time, so they don't have to vote on a budget till after the election. And I'm very proud that, as long as I've been here, everybody makes the hard decisions and works through it. And it just seems like that ought to be automatic, but it's really a rarity. So thank y'all very much. We did not bid. We bid this week and had a good bid and had a couple of bidders. One bidder that has bid every time, but it's bid the same thing for the last 6 years, actually improved their bid this time. And so that worked out, and we'll report that next month. But we were at 179 in June and 187 in July, and so the rates continue to kind of increase. And as you know, that puts our effective rate at 213 on what we're getting just in the bank. And as you look, you notice over the last several bids, we've taken 90 days and 6 months, because those bids that looked great a year ago, we're kind of past them. However, if you take the whole year, we were still better off, but with those rates rising, hopefully that will continue. But so we've got some in our CDs that are above that, but that's the what the minimum we're getting in our bank account.
Any questions, Mr. Beatty? Is there a motion to approve the report?
Move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Haley. Commissioner Jernigan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Ted.
Thank y'all.
Fund condition report. Ms. Nolan.
Okay, I'm going to spend most of my time on June. One reason is we have June 30th open until about the third week of July. So really, there's not a lot of activity that happens in the month of July that's reported to you. So in June, we had, starting with development tax, $316,500 in June, brought our total for the year $5,836,500, which was less than the prior year. As far as our cash balances at the end of June, we were $293,694,568, with $229,659,565 being operating funds, $64,035,000 being borrowed funds. Okay. So really, I'm going to try to take y'all to what happened when we closed our books. And would have you move to this page along with the one that we were reading, the June 30th report. Because in here, it would be the revenue sheets that I just am going to touch on. And the first one being revenue in the general fund. After we closed our books, we received almost $2.5 million more than what we had budgeted. Now, between two things, one being monies turned over from the fee offices, almost was $1 million more than we had anticipated. We do not get those until July, so that's, we can estimate, but we really don't know till then. The other thing, this state of Tennessee, if you remember, it's the year went on and said, well, we were getting behind from the state from the jail bills. They all came in one slew, and that we got $1 million more than we budgeted. So between those two, that is primarily the reason why we are over our revenues. Now, that's why I talked about the general fund. Now I'm going to come back to here, because as we were going through the budget process, started with our books and we estimated revenues, and the one thing I told you that we've really not considered as we went through is what is our estimate for what we won't spend. Well, we never dropped it in. We just knew that we wouldn't spend it all. We were meeting our budget policies. If it was tight, we'd be bringing that number in. So what I'm giving you is how did we end? So in this first block that I numbered, this is 3 pieces of information I'm giving you. And the first one is, what did we not spend? The general fund, our total appropriation was $102,884,000. We did not spend $5,773,000. So then the next question, well, what did we not spend? Well, salary and wages, we budget 100% of the positions being filled all year long, and that never happens. So between benefits and turnover, there was $3.3 million, almost $3.4 million left unspent. Services, $1.1 million. Materials and supplies, $442. Other charges, $429. Capital items not spent, $372,000. So I've given you that. Unless you want to go over the whys, this is the information I've given to you. I didn't want to yell a lot of numbers at you. This is going to just really for your benefit of where did we not spend and how did we do. And I'll just go over solid waste. Returned $856,000. Ambulance did not spend $893,000 of appropriations. Road and bridge $842,000, and schools $9,817,000. Then block 2 is how did we end actual revenues to expenditures and encumbrances. Encumbrances are people got payments, promises to pay, they're ordering stuff, it just didn't come in, so that carries forward. So you can see in the general fund, our revenues exceeded our appropriations by $5.9 million. Solid waste, every fund, the revenues at the end of the day exceeded our expenditure and appropriations, which rolls into our fund balance. I want to compare that last block with the number 3. And number 3 is how we adopted our budget into 18-19, whether or not our estimated revenues are over or under our appropriations. And so when I look at this, it's easy to say, yes, we're using fund balance, but we had excess last year. We're carrying forward in spending. It's to me real easy to see that. The only fund that I would say, we are watching is the ambulance, but the ambulance fund is starting a new program that they hope to see good results from that.
How many of these budgets did we approve last year out of balance? We thought we were
I
going-
think just all of them.
All of them, and the only one that actually, and realistic, was ambulance, so.
We budgeted an increase in debt service. Everything else was, I think,
Well,
pretty much a decrease.
that's pretty much a hard number, you know what that number is, but so. I know we've always done the road and bridge, pretty much, and it's always come in better than projected, so.
Right. So that is that information. And so how do we look after we've closed and we know what our balances are and we've moved into 18-19? So our appropriations for 18-19, our fund balance, we're holding an unassigned fund balance of 30%. And schools are at 7%, and debt service is at 92%. So that's how we start the year. All right. That's the big stuff I want to tell you there.
So fiscally, the county's in better shape than it's been in years.
I would say so, absolutely.
In my opinion, it's the best it's been in 16 years I've been here. So going forward, it's not our fault. Yeah, if it becomes a me. You know, at least the four of us there
No
at
pressure.
least.
Yeah, I got it.
You're saying it's a good time to get out.
So we closed our books in, Mark, what was it, July 24 or something like that? Okay, so then that's when we started getting our information for our rating call. So I felt like we had good information to go forward with our rating, and I had high hopes. I had, especially coming in with a 30% fund balance, I was really excited. But in my story is that they gave us the same rating, and they talk about how great we are with a, but in all the documents, it's like they, even though we told them how well we ended the year, they really, that's my opinion, that they really didn't want to use those numbers until they saw it in print and had an audit opinion on it. You know, yes, you told us, but, and I can understand their rating is important, and they want to have something solid to base it on, even though we gave them information from the assessor, what the assessments were, you know, what we were budgeting on, and they don't even talk about it, you know. So anyway, I'm telling you, the documents that they give and show that our full value was at 27.6 billion, is that right?
Billion.
Yeah, billion. They really used the information of the 17 audited information, even though we gave them how we were. They really based it all on that 26, and then we told them we think we're going to exceed 33 billion with the new assessment. It's like, I just didn't fit. Do you? I kind of felt like they just were really.
Well, they told us that the $32 billion number is a number we've got to get to with our valuations before we really should be thinking about them taking us to AAA. So we're there, but they didn't accept that we're officially there yet.
That we're there, that they couldn't go to a third party and say, yes, they are.
So they won't do it again until next.
The next
Probably
time,
next
next
year.
time you issue debt, if these percentages hold on these fund balances, I think you've got a real good chance of going up.
So about good, I mean, it's good news, you know, and they keep telling us, and we tell them about all the things that we're doing positively, our fund balances are, how we budget, we're very conservative, and that we, you know, we talk about our pension, that we pay, you know, I think it's 8.2, I can't remember, 8 something is what we're required, but we're paying ahead to you know, kind of plan ahead for all the changes that the state's making, and they said, well, that's what we expect y'all to do. It's like, okay, that's what we expect of a AA. You know, I guess they want to keep telling us, you know, your rating is really good.
In the past, Williamson and Hamilton counties have been the two counties ahead of us. Are they still?
And they still are. I just feel like we should be in the same playground.
And how many are in the AA? Like us?
How many's AA?
Well, we're AA plus and AA
I mean,
1.
how many are the level
Just
we
one
are?
notch away.
Yeah.
Besides, there's 2 ahead of us, and there's just a handful the same level we are they not? I mean,
You know, I don't know. I guess I have.
95 counties.
But I will, if you just indulge me just a minute, because I want to give y'all credit where credit is due. Moody's talks about the management and governance. I've got the documents, I'll pass these around for you. That Rutherford County is well managed and benefits from a conservative and prudent management team. Strong management demonstrated by a history of balanced operations and formalized fund balance policies. So that's the good one. That was Moody's. S&P Their rating reflects our assessment of the county's strong economy, very strong management with strong financial policies and practices, strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity. This is where I guess, yeah, S&P. They say that we have a weak debt and contingent liability profile, but a very strong institutional framework score. Now, this weak debt profile, they look at the revenues of the general fund and the preparation, the expense of debt service, but our debt service is for schools. But they don't consider the revenue of schools. You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
And even though we say, yes, but we can move, and we have moved, pennies from schools to debt service, that we have moved that. We're trying to make a plea to say, I would think you should consider the revenue coming into the, property tax revenue going into schools as being a component. But that this is how they do it.
It's part of their system of practices, and it's just inherent in a weakness in their system. And our person even said he had advocated for changing that, but he can't get his team to agree to all of that. Yeah, but anyway.
Another question, when we go up to the bond market, and let's say Williamson goes to the bond market, if we're going for the same amount, how much difference in rate is that? If we're going for the same thing, say it's just,
On whatever day it is, it may be none. Depends on the market that day.
And on our last issue, we beat them.
Really?
we beat them.
Yep.
So there.
So that's what I said.
Well, I mean, it could be 2 weeks apart or a month apart when you issue this debt, and this stuff is moving every day.
Yeah, but I was saying if every,
If it was the
Apples and
exact
apples.
same day, I would think it would be at least a few basis points or something.
Yeah.
And two, and this is what Sam pointed out, as long as the rates are so as low as they are, the differences between the two, as the interest rate rises, there becomes more of a difference between the ratings.
It could be also the structure of the debt.
And the structure, but it does make it.
However you structured it on short and long end depends on how rates are going to come in too.
That's true. That's true. Okay, so that's how we end. So, I echo your sentiments is that y'all are handing over the county in a very good shape.
No pressure on it.
No pressure.
No pressure, Rhonda. Okay, so I'll quickly go over July. You've got all the other documents, but I just really want to touch on results. All right, we're starting July strong with development tax with $792,000 coming in July. That was apartments, 255 apartments in Murfreesboro. Just for the sake of record, our cash balances at the end of July total $284,956,000, with $220,852,000 being operating and $64,104,000 being borrowed. We sell bonds on the 14th, and we'll send out documents on the 28th, close on the 30th of this month. So next month we'll give you how we ended with that. Well, actually, we'll know if everybody's interested on the 14th, how we did on the sale. So that's the report.
Is that it?
That's it.
Any questions of Ms. Nolan on either month? Or entertain a motion to approve the report?
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Risk management and financial reports. Ms. Street,
How
welcome.
are you all? I can convey some of the sentiments that we've heard up here tonight.
especially you, Charlie. I don't know who I'm gonna banter with come March and rates are discussed, but I guess somebody else will fill your shoes probably. So, if we start with Fund 264 for the month of June, you'll see that revenue came in at 5.7 million, and expenses came in at 5.2 million, for a difference of $479,703. Continuing on to the second page, when we look at calendar period year-to-date revenue versus expenses, prior period revenue came in at $38,903,000 compared to current revenue coming in at $44,423,000, with expenses in prior period at $34,220,000 compared to current of $33,026,000. Reviewing it from a fiscal period perspective, revenue in prior period came in at $65,283,000 compared to current of $71,922,000. Expenses were at $67,015,000 in prior period, and current period shows $66,154,000. On the back page, we'll focus on that second purple section there that shows the 2018 calendar year revenue versus expenses, and the total of it shows that currently revenues are outpacing expenses by $11,397,000, with a per employee per month calendar year coming in at $887. Looking at a fiscal year comparison for 2017 through 18, we ended at revenue up above expenses at $5,768,000, and our average employee enrollment in the medical program is coming in at 5,999 employees. Our OJI costs for the month of June year-to-date came in at $771,228 compared to prior year-to-date of $738,095. Legal expenses within the month of June. Mark and I had a conversation just minutes before I got in the car to come up here to this meeting. I'm not quite sure what happened with the spreadsheet and conversion and sending it to him, but I would like to clarify that for the month of June, the actual expenses for Hudson Reed and McCreary was $16,068.81, not what's shown, which I believe is $35,000 on y'all's. The prior period is correct in that it was showing the $65,685, but their actual expenses came in this year at $1,668, so they dropped significantly. Moving on to the month of July.
I just want to say, if you look at that whole page, I mean, the blue lines, which is the prior year, are substantially more than this whole year,
Yes, that's true.
and practically every month.
And we've dealt with some pretty complex cases that they've worked on as well, so I think that's good. Good to point out. Any other comments, Mayor, before I
No.
continue on? The month of July revenue came in at $1,627,000 compared to expenses at $5,651,000 for a difference of $4,024,000. And I'll just remind the committee that during the months of July and August, we don't collect premiums from the Board of Education, so that's the reason the numbers look the way they do. Calendar period year-to-date revenue in prior period is showing at $40,289,000 compared to current at $46,051,000, with expenses in prior period at $40,450,000, coming in current period at $38,678,000. From a fiscal period year-to-date, revenue in prior came in at $1,385,000 compared to current at $1,627,000, with expenses in prior at $6,229,000 compared to current at $5,651,000. Page 3 of the July report, I'll simply point you to the second purple grid there.
that shows that currently our expenses are below our revenue to the sum of $7,373,000. Our per employee per month is at $887. And again, you'll see on the fiscal year comparison, we are at the negative $4 million down on the revenues currently. And average enrollment dropped to 5780, and that's basically because of the Board of Ed contracts that terminate at various periods beginning May through. So that's why you see that number down a little bit, but it will get back up. Fund 266 in July showed $81,927 in expenses, with prior period reporting at $180,403. Legal expenses in July of prior year came in at $17,044 compared to the 2018 July coming in at $15,597.
Any questions of Melissa?
Motion to approve is presented.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Bond. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much. You have a good evening.
Thank you.
Special Purpose Fund Budget Amendment. Sheriff Fitzhugh.
How you doing?
Ms. Action, how are y'all tonight?
Doing well, thank you.
The DEA account, we're just requesting that funds be put in the proper expenditure line items. We're asking for a $107,000 decrease in the restricted for public safety to put in these line items for the new fiscal year.
This is just putting the money back where it's supposed to be since
That's
we're rolling
why
into
we
the
have to
new year.
do that DEA account.
Wish to the committee.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We're an application for grant for Sheriff's Office.
I'm going to request approval to research and apply for American Police and Sheriff's Association equipment grant for one of more of the following, which is still the throw phone, narcotics analyzer, and/or radio for judicial services. Our top would be our narcotics analyzer, if we can get one.
And the most important part requires no matching funds.
No
No
matching
matching
funds.
funds.
Do you know how much you will apply for?
These grants are sort of 25, 30, and that would cover one of
30,000.
One or the other is
these.
what it's gonna cover. What the analyzer is it allows us to test drugs through the plastic without having to take the drug out and touch it, which has become a big thing because of fentanyl now and the dangers of that. So we can test it in the container without having to touch it.
Wish to the committee. Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Allen. Call the roll, sorry.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Got an interlocal agreement with the City of Murfreesboro for Sheriff's Department.
You doing that, Lisa?
I'll do this one. This is one you've seen. It kind of comes up every year, and it's a joint award with City of Murfreesboro, pretty much being the financial person. It is a JAG grant, and they split it between the two of us. This is for $30,649 for Rutherford County and $30,648 for Murfreesboro. They get an extra dollar. I said that backwards. Yeah, they get Murfreesboro gets $1 more for administering the grant.
Does Murfreesboro do most of the paperwork? Is that why they get
That's
the
their,
dollar?
that's their handling fee.
Move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely. Commissioner Jernigan. Any questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Bond?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Got a general fund budget amendment for Sheriff's Office.
And these are the two grants that the team driving safety grant and the highway safety for alcohol enforcement grant. And this is for the last quarter. We usually do this time of year. We wait until we close, see how much money is available, and we roll it into the next year.
No surprises there.
Federal year.
Yeah, it does follow the federal year.
Motion to approve the request.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer.
Second.
Commissioner Baum? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. I believe that takes care of you,
Say
Jeff?
this, and I'll direct you since Brother Beatty was just blatantly ignored you. But anyway, I would like to thank all of you for bringing me along and kind of teaching me the ropes in the last year and a half. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. And those that are moving on to other endeavors, we're going to miss you. But I do want to appreciate it. And those of you that staying together, we're going to endure each other for a little while. Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you, Mayor.
Got a general fund budget, some general fund budget amendment for circuit court clerk. Ms. Harrell, welcome. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you all?
Fine, thank you.
I have two amendments. Which one would you all like to look at?
We've got the employee one first.
The employee. Okay. This is where I had added 6 new employees. I didn't have it on my original budget due to the fact I wanted to do an analysis. I wanted to be conservative about it, so we did an employee analysis and a caseload analysis. Plus, we got 2 judges, or one for circuit and one for juvenile. A magistrate, not a judge, for juvenile.
Questions of Ms. Harrell or motions?
Or take both of them if you want to.
We seem to have a lot of thought on this one. Does anybody want to break these up? You want to take both these at once? This is 6 new employees because we knew this was coming because we've got a couple of new judges.
The other part of this too is that her people are handling those volunteer pay agreements much more. You've got more of a caseload on those than what you've had in the past. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Right. We did a comparison. I have the numbers. Our caseload, we compared with Montgomery County, and our caseload is much, much higher. Well, 8,351 more cases than they do per year. We have 61,722 cases that we did last year. They did 53,371 cases last year.
You asked the same question, how much bigger are we than they? It's probably that percentage that we're larger.
But they have more employees.
Okay.
For less,
That's what I like.
that's what she's telling you.
Okay.
What is this, the voluntary pay agreements instead of probation? I don't know the difference in those. What does that mean? That last sentence?
That's where individuals are being placed on volunteer pay agreements instead of going to probation. A lot of them may be indigent, so.
It's a different process that they are having to go through. And it's going to their folks instead of going to probation, then her people have got to do different processes.
So it's assigned by the judge.
I'll make a motion to approve this one.
Okay.
But I would like to see that it's not on the consent agenda next week, just
Well,
because.
it won't be, because
It
it's
won't
coming
be.
out of an unassigned fund balance.
All right, well, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Sir.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan. Any further questions or discussion? Not? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Okay, Melissa, you want to go to the next one?
Our next one is for $66,620
When we did our budget for the next gen, which is our software and the tenses, we didn't have all of them that were required. There's 3 courts, so we didn't have them all together.
But she did have monies coming in that are specific for data processing that was not used in the 17-18 year, which rolled forward into this one that is being used to cover for the expenses.
Yeah, we still have 20,000.
So it's a restricted fund, and it can't be used for anything else
Anything
anyway.
else, right, just data.
And this is sort of like the sheriffs that we just did with that they had rollover from a grant or something we put, okay.
And really, it was the timing of the bills that came in are for 18-19, and she didn't have any expenses out of last year, that's where she kind of got ahead. So, I mean, it all timed well.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum,
I'll second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Melissa.
Well, thank you all, and I'm gonna miss the ones that are not gonna be here, look forward to the ones that are gonna be here, and not gonna miss working with you.
We've got a general fund budget amendment for emergency management. Mr. Cass, welcome. How are you tonight?
Hey, all right, sir, how y'all?
Thank you.
This one here is basically, it's the 2017 Homeland Security Grant money. We were awarded the money late in spring. Those things are starting to come out later all the time. And of course, we try, but we don't get it all spent. For instance, 18,000 of this is for some training, some active shooter training. Well, that takes training with the sheriff's office and others, so that's not going to come up if we get the money in late spring. So all we're asking is to move it into this year so we can appropriate, so we can spend it.
The same thing with the last ones we've been doing, so I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Schaefer. Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cass.
Some of these have come out of unassigned fund balance, though, when they're in there. It doesn't matter, even though we knew they came through last year. It's still hard in August to take the money.
Well, we do it every year.
I know.
We're rolling in, we
It's
pull them back, you know.
That's kind of what, to me, what this meeting is all right, we've closed and we know now what they've spent, now we know the balance to move forward.
Reset the accounts to move forward. We got a general purpose, the general fund budget amendment and transfer for pause.
And this
You
is,
taking that from Mr. Gregory?
I am. These are very similar to the ones that we've already talked about. Monies that were unspent in prior year that were restricted. The first one is a Petco grant and an ASPCA grant that were not expended. The second one, that was $15,068 in total. No, $15,068. The second one is to transfer funds to the vet services for a contract vet while they're in the process of hiring another full-time veterinarian that's asking to move $5,000 from other salary and wages to veterinary services. And the third one is they received $1,000 for a state animal-friendly grant and to appropriate the funds for drugs and medical supplies, $1,000.
Well, the wishes of the committee.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Got a general fund budget amendment for the property assessor. Mr. Mitchell, welcome. How are you this evening?
Doing very well, thank you. I don't get to come up here and see you guys much, and now you're leaving.
Don't take it personal.
I'm the property assessor, I got thick skin. All right, did I just start, or do you want to read something in, or?
No.
Um,
You explain why you're here.
As we were closing out last year's budget, we had originally requested $15,000 for fixtures and files. And we were directed to go and look and see if there was anything over in the old judicial center that could be used. We did. There isn't. One filing system over there we looked at, the company said it would cost $35,000 to move it. And they couldn't even guarantee that it would work if it moved over, and they couldn't put it under warranty. So just requesting that the additional $10,000 that was part of my original request, which was $15,000, be put back in so that we can buy the filing systems for personal property.
What's your current system? What are you currently doing?
We have, it's bookshelf filing systems that are ledger sized. The only thing they had over there were too small. They were too short. The files would fall out.
So the files that you have currently, what are you doing with them?
We stack them in there, but we're full because the growth whenever somebody opens up a new business, we have to create an account with all their information in it and stick it in there. It's on a computer, but the state requires that we have the schedules and stuff on paper filed.
How long will the system last you?
This will last about 5 years. Last time we purchased it was about 5 years ago.
What happens when the companies go out of business? You still have to keep them
We still
for
have
a
to keep
while?
them for 10 years. And the reason we keep them for 10 years is to verify any back taxes, because after 10 years by statute, the taxes become uncollectible and they roll off. So we're required to maintain any hard copies of anything that a tax might be levied against to prove that they did actually have it in the event that the delinquent tax attorney were to go after them and try to prosecute them. And they said, we don't have the stuff, that we can pull it out and say, well, this is where you filed that you had this equipment, so you did owe taxes on it. So that's why we have to hold on to it.
So how many units is this going to get you? Like, is this one unit that will hold enough amount, or this
It's going to be, it'll be 5 wall units, bookshelf wall units that are about 8 feet long.
And I guess the reason I'm asking is I'm just thinking, what would be the minimum you could purchase? Because I just know with the way we're going in technology, I just feel like the day of having to have the paper copy, you know, and you're also going to be able to be retiring some of those old documents and archiving them. So I'm just trying to think through what's the smallest purchase you need to make this work for what you're needing.
5. I verified that today when I left. We were asking if we could get by with 3. And she says, no.
And that's the vendor, they'll only sell you 5?
No, that's Paula, our personal property manager, manages the office. We asked her, my chief deputy and I asked, how long before, because right now we have 1 unit that is left to be filled up. They'll be finished by March. It'll be full.
And you should have some that are 10 years old that you're archiving. You should be
The
emptying
ones
some.
that are archived are in just standard filing cabinets stuck back inside of the warehouse storage room up there. Everything that we have on the walls is active accounts. There's over 14,000 of them.
So if we turn this down, what are you going to do? What's your
Come back again. I mean,
I'm just curious.
I mean, we don't have a choice. We got to come back and do
Yeah.
it because the state won't allow us to store this stuff just electronically because
Right.
But as more are coming in, that she was alluding to, the 10-year period is getting, however
So
old you're
only
keeping
after-
there,
yeah,
you ought
only
to be
after-
pulling something out at some rate, maybe not as fast as what's
only
going in.
only after the ones that have been dead for 10 years. If they're active, they're in our front office, in the files, and over into another side office where we had to expand into. If something is, the business is closed, then we take it and we put it off of those shelves and we take it back into the storage room and we place it in the filing cabinets there, and then we age them out back that way. They don't stay up front for 10 years. We take them down and move them somewhere else.
So did you say that you fill up one of these by March? So in 6 months, you're gonna fill up one, so if you buy 5, you got 30 months of supply here.
That's
Is that a fair
what
statement?
that's what her estimate was.
You said just a minute ago it was gonna do 5 years.
That's what Paula's estimate was, that it would take us, she feels that one a year would get us through the next 5 years.
But you want about 5 now.
Yep.
So 4 will be empty until the second year and then settle.
That was leading to my question of what will a vendor sell you? If a vendor will sell you to them one at a time, why wouldn't we buy them as we need
You know,
them?
I don't know if they'll sell them to us one at a time, because when we placed the quote with them through the GSA contract, they gave us a quote for 3, and they
Right.
gave us a quote for 5. And I'll be honest, I don't know if, because Paula handled that, she placed the quote on the RFP to say, all right, what you recommend. It's with Tab Products. And they said, you got 3, or you got 5, or you can get 8. We don't need 8.
Is the price per 3 higher per unit than the price per 5?
It's the installation charge is higher, because they charge an installation fee, so it gets higher with a smaller number. There's a flat delivery fee that they charge to ship it and set it in, and then there's a charge per unit to install it, mount it on the walls. They do all that.
I'd like to make a motion to approve as requested for the full.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
No.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
No. Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
I
Mr.
appreciate it.
And I'll clarify the reason I voted no is their very first meeting of the new year, we're already going in unassigned fund balance, so something besides rolling money back in that needs to be reset. So I would rather wait until later in the year and see if we can find it within its own budget. Got a juvenile detention contract with Rutherford County Board of Education for education services. Ms. Duke, welcome.
Good evening, thank you. So this is for supplemental services. This is our Title I money that you have seen before come through as grant money. Instead of that money coming to us for new state law, has it going straight to the Department of Education, but we're still providing those services. So this contract sets it up where they can show that they're responsible, but we're actually doing it.
Questions of Ms. Duke? Or motions?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
I'll second it, and just for verification, the county attorney did it.
Yes, he looked at this one, and we also have another one that we've kind of been discussing in public safety, and he's looking at that one as well.
Have a motion and a second.
Do we need to do a budget amendment on which license?
No,
Okay. We've already included that.
we already included it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a good evening. Application for recycling rebate program for solid waste.
Good evening.
Welcome, Mr. Nolan.
How are y'all? This is the recycle rebate that we've been getting for quite some time. Last year they changed it. It was the top 11 counties, now it's only the top 5, so we're part of that. We get granted this each year, but we still have to go through the application process, and I had to go to a class and all that kind of stuff. So this is asking for us to apply for the grant again, and for the mayor to be able to sign it and execute it and all that good stuff.
All the wishes of the committee. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We got a general solid waste fund budget amendment. There, they got ahead of themselves.
Yes, this one is ours, and I missed the 3,000 additional amount that was to go into motor vehicles. This was for, it was a trailer,
Litter crew trailer.
litter crew trailer. It should have been 9 instead of 6. So this is a finance error. Oops. Oops, correction, So,
It actually got approved in here, but not in the paperwork, or is that
that's
correct?
exactly what,
So,
And nobody, we got ready to try to order the trailer, thought, we'll have the money we thought we had.
I'll make a motion to approve.
thank you, Commissioner Allen.
second.
Commissioner Ely. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Thank you, Big Mac.
Thank you. You may want Miss Mary next, since she's on here.
Yeah, that's true. Could do that.
Yeah, we can do that.
Do that.
Let's see. We'll move down to 19. Come on up, Mary. Big Mac, yeah, I wasn't paying any attention.
By Mac Lunch.
We've got a highway
Good evening.
fund budget amendment.
Mark, do they have the document I sent you?
Yes, they do.
Okay, all right. I was hoping so. All right, tonight we come asking to move $350,000 from our fund-ended balance into our highway equipment. It is to purchase a 10-foot asphalt paver off of the state contract. We put a significant amount of money back into our fund-ended balance. We've done this the last couple of years. Once we've done that, we've seen how we have finished, and now we're going back to the pot to cover some equipment that we need for this year. Our current 10-foot paver is, we're waiting on parts. We've been 4 to 6 weeks waiting on these parts. It's hard to get parts, it's hard to get screeds for it, and it is getting some age on it, so we were able to purchase this off a state contract. This actually is a Road Tech paver out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. So our parts will be easier to get, and to even make the morale for the employees, because we've got an asphalt paver that's going to work instead of getting started and we're having, you know, it's broke down, then we have to bring the small one out. So our guys do a great job on the roads in our county, and we like to keep them some good working equipment so that they're able to do that. So in doing this, in the money that we were able to put back, we would like to move some so that we can make this an improvement.
Is this your big paper?
Yes, sir.
This is the backup paper? This is the big paper?
Yes,
The
sir.
main
This
paper.
yes, sir. This is the main paper, and it's actually been down. Actually have been using our 8-foot paper, so we're able to
It's
get
not
this
that
in.
many years old, though, is it? I mean, it's apparently, it's 5 or 6 years old, it seems to me like. I happen to know the guy that works on it a lot, you know.
We actually, we have 3. No, we have 3. We have the 8-foot, and then the old one that has been the backup. And what we're doing is we would shuffle.
Shift.
And then that would allow us to keep this brand spanking new 10-foot asphalt paver on the road, and if something happened, we could go to the backup or go to the smaller one. The smaller one we got because we have some roads that are barely 10 or 12 foot wide, period. And so it's just easier to do with an 8-foot asphalt paver on that than it is the 10-foot.
And this is approved by Mr.
Yes.
Fox on the brand you're getting and things like that.
Yes, sir. Matter of fact.
Mr. Fox is a technician who maintains the paper.
Matter of fact, Road Tech is our 8-foot. We have a Cedars Rapids and two of the Road Techs. So we're very familiar with that. And with the price of steel and things changing and everything, and this was a set price in the contract through a state contract, we feel that we need to jump on this, just for the cost potential of an increase.
What are the wishes of the committee?
Make a motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Allen?
How long does it take to get this in?
They actually have, Greg has talked, they've got like 3 or 4 being made, because I mean, it literally is being produced in Chattanooga. And when they come off, their VIN numbers are labeled, and you know, they've got small numbers of like 1,000 and something, you know, because each one gets a new number. So there's 3, and with our board's approval and knowing that we had this money, we went ahead and asked them to earmark us one of the ones that is in production and coming. So just as soon as it is ready, they would be able to bring it to us so that we can go ahead and even get it going, because we have been known to be able to pave down into October with our weather and everything. So if we can get this one going, considering I'm still waiting at least 6 weeks on, I'm already 6 weeks on the parts to fix the big pavers.
So how long till this one is ready now? 2 weeks?
We actually, when y'all give me the money, I actually can tell them and bring it to me and we can use it and pay for it, so.
You don't want to tell you it's already sitting there.
You look and see exactly how much money we put back and our road commission's already approved it, so we come like this.
It might be
instead of-
paving tomorrow morning.
No, tomorrow's Friday. No, but anyway, we try to make, when we bring our budget to you all, we're very realistic in what we can operate the year with. But when we finish up and we're able to put money back in our fund ending balance, then that's when we go to our wish list. We bring y'all, here's what we can survive on, and drastic, if we had to replace it immediately, we could spend it. And so the paver was actually on next year's wish list, prices still and everything going up, and what we put back, we just bumped it.
We have a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes. Thank you, Mary.
Thank
You
you
can
very
tell
much.
Mr. Brooks that you do better than him, but you got this through, and he might not have it yet.
Well, I appreciate that, and like everybody else is, we do appreciate being able at the highway department to work with this great group, and we will miss the ones that are going off, and the ones that'll be coming on have some big shoes to fill, so we do appreciate it. Thank you.
Mary. Go back up to number 16, General Fund Budget Amendment for Health Department.
Okay, this is another roll-in from last year into this year, and you may remember the amendment that we did for the health department to make an isolation room with funds that were supposedly directed to the state, and the state said we could use the money instead for that, and so they didn't spend it, so this rolls into next year.
There is a typo on that description. It's called an insulation room, but it is an isolation room.
It's an
Yes.
isolation.
I knew what it was, but you just might want to get that corrected. So, yeah.
Insulation, not
It's an
spelled right,
insulation.
is
It's
it?
not either, yeah.
It's isolation. Yes,
Motion to
thank
approve.
you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Commissioner Jernigan. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes. Got an MTSU subaward agreement for drug court.
Is that this one?
Yes.
Okay, this is a agreement. You look on there, there's no words.
No, they all have
They've
copies.
got it, they've got words now?
All of those have copies on it. Just our three iPads don't have it.
Ah, okay. Okay, so this is,
$127,640, is that right?
right, 100, yes. Total amount is 127,640. What is this action? 64,455.
64,000 is for
Two-year
the
grant,
first,
okay.
for this year.
This is our SAM, so this is with Trey's program.
This is something we agreed to apply for in the past and things like
Oh,
that.
this is second
It's
year.
part of a grant we have that part of the grant money we use to
This
MTSU
is
people to
just-
support the grant actions. And
Yeah, they actually do the study and make sure that all of the research that has taken place is totaled up and agrees with what the grant is supposed to do. So they're
They're
basically,
kinda like a
basically,
monitor,
yeah,
you know?
basically pulling together information for us based on what the grant is for.
What wishes of the committee?
Motion approved.
Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Allen.
I'd like to disclose I'm an MTSU employee. Y'all are already aware of that. I don't think I have a conflict of interest in this case, but did want to disclose that. I don't think it affects me.
We'll make note of that, hopefully. And if not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got a lease for adult probation office space. That's down there on West Main, I take it.
yes, that's correct. the owners of this property, I mean, the amount of the lease agreement is still exactly the same. They wanted to sort of a lease that indicated it was more than a month-to-month lease. This is a 2-year lease, but we have a 90-day option to cancel the lease at any time, so it doesn't put us at any risk for not being able to get out when we need to get out. And it may or may not help them with their opportunity to sell the building with a lease there contained. It's just-
Is it not protecting us where if they were to sell the building, somebody couldn't kick us out immediately
Well,
when
it
we've
would-
got
yeah, that
we've
would
got a
be-
lease at this point in time?
But that's true.
Where in the past, we're month to month, I believe.
That's correct.
Our in-house attorney, Mark Tucker, noted today that the term, as you said, was
2 years.
2 years. But there's a problem in this third. Lacey agrees to pay the lessor as rent during the term, the sum of $8,500. That's in total.
Which takes it down to $354 a month instead of $8,500 a month.
So
That's the way it's been since the beginning. The only
I think the
thing,
problem was is that it said
The term previously was month to month, so the term was a month.
So we were about to approve a lease that was going to do us 2 years for a total of $8,500, but our hall monitor here just turned us in, and I guess you have to fix it before it goes to the commission, because they were about to shoot themselves in the foot. I doubt the county
Well,
would have held them to that, but
they
that would
they
have been...
told me they didn't change anything except make it a 2-year lease.
Well,
Yeah.
With a 90-day
For a
option.
The other was
I said we
$8,500
do it for
for a term of a
$8,500
month. This is
for 2
basically saying $8,500 for a term of 2 years total.
Okay.
You know, so,
Well,
They need the word monthly after the word after the
Yeah.
$8,500.
Lisa, you just cost the county a lot of money.
Okay,
That
so-
is the right thing to have done. But,
make a motion to approve it with that amendment.
yeah.
of course, they signed it.
I know that, but
I'll send Mr. Ward a bill.
There's some attorneys in that group. I feel sure they'll figure it
one
out.
of the owners is the attorney that drafted this.
Mark will send them
I'll send him
a
a bill.
bill.
Okay.
All right. We need a motion. Thank you, Commissioner Jernigan.
Second.
Commissioner Bond.
This is with corrections.
I would have left it alone myself. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan? Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. We've done number 19. We're going to number 20, General Fund Budget Amendment for Juvenile Court.
Okay, so this is for our new magistrate. The one that was selected did have previous county experience, and how we manage this with all the other ones. We do recognize some of it, and we just need to add a little bit more to that line item, $3,128 and benefits.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Schaefer. Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. A contract with Greater National Regional Council for Home Grant and related General Fund Budget Amendment.
Okay, if you remember last year, it was noted that the county was awarded $500,000 for a home grant. And this resolution is to have an agreement with GNRC to do the administrative part of this grant. $30,000 for them, and then the balance for the contract to improve homes.
Related budget amendment.
Yeah, well, you got the kind of amendment down in the body too.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. Any further questions or discussion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Aye.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yeah.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes.
Can we take the other business there at this point, since it's related directly to?
Okay, under other business, home grant policies and procedures.
Yeah.
Is there anything on our iPad?
Yes, there is.
Under other business? You want to go down to item number 24?
It'll be in the minutes right there together, since it's all kind of related.
There you go. And we've done this before. The last time that we had this home grant, we have to adopt these policies and procedures.
This is just the, accept their rules and regulations to the way we manage and handle this money.
Same amount of money, everything, you just have, okay.
Right.
I move for approval.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely. Commissioner Jernigan. Any questions or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, now we're going back to 22. Agreement with Public Building Authority for architectural and engineering services. And this is pertaining to the old judicial building, I take it.
This is for the refurbishing and repurposing of the old judicial building, and this basically is the commission handing back to the PBA to manage that particular project, just like they did the judicial center.
And we already approved this money.
You've already
year.
approved the 66,700 for the design, schematic design part for Grisham and Smith, and they've already executed that agreement. And the PBA did today agree to accept this additional responsibility.
They've done a great job for us in the past. They did with the new judicial building. What are the wishes of the committee?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Baum.
Second.
Commissioner Ely. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We've got a general fund budget amendment for committee pay. I believe this was sent to us by Steering, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
23.
This is lengthy, the amendment, but behind the amendment is kind of like what we used to calculate that. As I understood it, that Steering requested that all of these boards listed have an increase of $50. There was discussion about the PBA also being increased, but the code around the PBA says they serve without compensation, but can be paid for their expenses, their travel expenses. So I've kind of addressed that in the amendment. So these are all the ones listed in front of you.
So the Board of Equalization, the Audit Committee, Planning and Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Workhouse Board, Building Codes, the Conservation Board, Agriculture Board, the Insurance Committee, and the Beer Board. And the motion from Steering was to raise each one of those compensations $50 per meeting.
Right. So.
Just so the people watching at home will know what board we're talking about.
Okay. So.
This does not affect commission pay or anything like that, or the school board pay,
No.
or the road board pay.
So looking at, if you go back to the amendment, looking back at what we have set our budgets at the moment, Board of Equalization and Building Codes appears to have sufficient monies already appropriated. The Beer Board they are being paid out of the commission line. I think, and we budget extra for meetings in that. I think that will be sufficient. So you're not going to see those three in an amendment to change, but everything else is in this amendment to make those changes. At the very bottom, you see other boards and committees. There is a new function to set, and I just pulled the number out of the sky, $1,000 for PBA's travel. Risk management, their total amount for them, $4,105. That's shown as a transfer in because their budget is funded by the insurance fund and workers' comp and the OJI. So that money will come in from those two funds to cover it. The balance, $27,750 to accomplish this goal.
Some of these committees haven't been touched in 20 years. Damn, and that many years ago, at least not done so many years when we didn't pay the insurance committee at all. And then we started paying the insurance committee 6 or 7 years ago, I'm guessing. It could have been 8, could be 4, but I remember it's been
Yeah, it
not
wasn't
that long
always
ago. But
there.
well, and the total cost for this would be $27,750. And to reiterate what I said before, it does not affect any elected officials, it's only appointed officials. What are the wishes of the committee?
Since I do serve on planning commission, I'm going to abstain.
Oh, insurance committee.
And I wasn't interested. I'm completely abstaining. I'm abstaining twice, yeah.
I move for approval, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Ely.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Baum. Have a second. Any discussion? Mr. Schaefer.
Yep. Why didn't this happen in May as opposed to August? The steering, why didn't they come up with it before? What brought it, I don't understand what brought it up right now. I guess it was the PBA is why they,
No, the PBA
I know they're not
was
getting
an
it.
afterthought. It was not, were not even considered until they started thinking about it was more about planning and one other one,
Planning and the BZA.
BZA.
I think that
Because, I
was
mean,
the-
they meet more and they have some heavy discussions and long discussions.
Long meetings.
And then I think followed that was the heavy discussions we have in insurance.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And then I think it opened up, well, what about everybody else? And so that's how kind of the discussion happened.
what will this give them for meeting then?
Well, that's when you
$150?
go back to that second page.
page there.
And that's kind of where everybody is. There's one other committee, the records, I call it the archive committee, but I think they're the records commission. They're limited by statute to 25, so, but they're not included.
When the Board of Equalization comes together, they usually are there pretty much all day long with an hour for lunch.
It's a per diem. It's a per day.
Just still didn't answer my question, why didn't this come out in May?
Well, whoever-
Didn't think
whoever-
about it, or what?
The person didn't think about it till now,
Okay,
apparently.
okay. I can see that.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If not, call the roll.
Commissioner Allen?
Abstain.
Commissioner Baum?
Yes.
Commissioner Ely?
Yes.
Commissioner Jernigan?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
Commissioner Jordan?
Yes. Motion passes. Any other business? We already did one other business.
All right.
Is that all? Is there anything else coming for us tonight? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you very much.